like to start with my background in order for you to understand what you can expect from me, from my work and analysis and approach to ethics, which is research-based perspective in teaching. And I have been teaching engineering students from year 2000 and to now. So it's a long time, and I'm an old professional and old physicist, actually. So I started my career as a theoretical physicist. And then I moved to computing, to computer science. I made my first PhD in 1988. So I'm really an ancient person. And then I continued to computing and made my PhD in computing and philosophy. And that was how I came to ethics as a part of philosophy, as a discipline. And I started to combine ethics with my research in computing, in different fields of computing. And with time, I moved to cognition, study of cognition from the computational point of view. And today I'm also in design, information design at Chalmers. So I have been moving through different fields, and I have in my baggage all those things with me. And when I think about technology, I'm thinking in terms of my past experiences. You will find this presentation on my webpage, and it is given here. So you can find it very easily if you just type my name, and under presentation, you will find it. And then you can find also both my personal page, but also my two professional pages at my two universities. It is Mälardalen and Chalmers. So this material will be available. So as I said, during many years, I have been teaching different courses. And the first ethics course was at Mälardalen University at 2001 to 2014. And it combined master's thesis students and PhD students. So it was a balance between the levels. And between 2014 and 2017, I was teaching at Chalmers in a course which is called Research Ethics and Sustainable Development. So we had a team teaching many different topics. And I had also other courses in which I always added part of the course on ethics. So I had emerging trends and critical topics in interaction design at Chalmers, and we had ethical aspects of emerging technologies and design. Then we had the human-centered design at Chalmers as well, and in that course also part of it was ethical aspects. And research methods in natural sciences and engineering, the same thing. Advanced computational thinking and writing, research toolbox, the same thing, and so on. So I was trying from years 2000 until now to introduce ethics in all my courses, plus to introduce ethics courses at universities where I was active. And in developing my courses, I had similar approach as the one I quoted in this slide. So the course was based on assumption that identifying the major ethical issues in the discipline and subsequently presenting and analyzing them in the classroom would provide the future professional with knowledge of the ethical problems that they were likely to face on graduation. So, for example, in this Chalmers course, I had all PhD students from Chalmers talking about their own research project from the ethical point of view. And I learned a lot from my students, and they learned new things that they didn't reflect on before the course on ethics. So for me, the main thing in teaching research-based ethics courses is learning, both from students and from myself, about technology, its possibilities, its risks, its benefits. As our previous speaker, Katrin, said, it is really about weighing plus and minus possibilities and risks and all those things. It's not so that we will find absolutely perfect solution. We will find best available solution, one thing, and the other thing, we will be active. And Katrin also emphasized this thing that we actively, in the process, look at what we are doing and correct if it is necessary. If we understand that something is really wrong, we should act and correct our path and then go in right direction. So it's a lot of thinking. So that is ethics, as we could hear. It is about thinking, it is about reflection on what we are doing. And the students in my courses, they typically have been reflecting over either the topics they were interested in, and that those were master students, or on their own research topics in case of PhD students. And I just, for illustration, I present to you a list of publications that I have been writing together with my students. So I was thinking the best way, both from me to profit of their knowledge and for them to profit from my knowledge, is to work together and to have a living dialogue on specific topics. So you will see a lot of work with my current PhD student, Tobias Holstein, who was studying automated driving. And we have been discussing this topic and writing together and publishing together. We published also a book chapter on that. So it's a lot of work for a PhD student whose primary interest was actually technology. He is software engineer, but dedicated to those questions of ethics. So more and more recent years, we have people graduating with ethical topics, master students presenting ethical view of their own choice. So it's technology. In the first place, you must know your technology in order to be able to see what ethical consequences it might have. And then from that understanding of technology, we go the step further and try to see how we can apply ethics and understand what are the ethical consequences. So it's a combination, and you cannot do without either technology or ethical reflection. So here is the list with different topics, which are really from agent-centered approach to assuring ethics in dependable service systems to WikiLeaks and such topics. So I have no time to go through all those topics, but you can see that it is a long list with students who were writing together with me. Then I had some symposia, doctoral symposia at conferences. One especially interested was on IS for SI conference in Gothenburg in 2017. It's International Conference of Information Society, and people have been writing quite a lot, and all of them are PhD students, about ethical aspects of their research project, specific ethical aspects of their research projects. And I'm especially glad that my students succeeded in publishing their own articles in very prestigious venues. And this one is APA, American Philosophical Association Computing and Philosophy Journal, where you can see in the end of this list, you can see my two students. One of those is on assistive environments, Linda Sebeck, who was studying how people with some impairments, cognitive impairments, because she has a child who is cognitively impaired. And she is very much interested in intelligent technology, which will help her child survive after herself and help make his life better in the future. So she is really passionate about the topic, and she has been writing in the course about this, and she sent to the journal, and they accepted the paper. And you can see that in that number of the journal, Jako Hintika, the very famous logician, also published his paper. So it's not a little thing to be one of the authors in such a journal. And we had two students in that issue. And we had different topics, articles from the course Computing and Philosophy, which was a purely PhD course, which was financed by Swedish financing authority. And it was really a lot of different topics which interested my students. So, for example, ethics of hyperreal, or when simulations become reality. It's a question which is becoming more and more interesting for us. Ethics and the profession, or privacy in computing, or big brother questions, or gender distribution, such questions which were really interesting for students to elaborate on, which they passionately worked on and presented, and they really did a really good job. And here some of the students made their articles they produced in the course, chapters in their PhD thesis. So, for example, Kristina Björkman, she was working on feminist theory in computer science, and she added ethical chapter to her thesis. And then two master students who presented as well. So I will just, to give you a feeling how those courses look like, and because we don't have so much time, I will run very quickly. You can find the presentation on my webpage, and you are very welcome to contact me. And if you have questions or proposals of collaboration or whatever you wish, I will be glad to reply. So this is about experiences from courses, concrete things. So an example of introductory lecture for PhD students of software engineering who had focused on automation. So I was trying always to first to be up to date with their own topic, and then to engage them with the discussion which is directly connected to what they are working. So this is an example of automation ethics for Idea League School and for Akvog Computing and Robotic Industrial Automation Summer School. So those were two schools from 2018, which I introduced with those texts about automation ethics. And then before the lectures, I sent the questionnaire asking them to write to me what do they experience as important topics in their own field. And then I got a long list of replies from students from the class. And this is the list. I made the classification on different types of questions. So they had technology aspects, and the first one I put the title data related, and the other one group is sustainability related. Those were distinctly similar, or I could cluster those questions in those two groups. Then we had methodology aspects, which were at the same time ethical aspects. And those were values, method, epistemic problems, and so on. And also Catherine mentioned who is choosing the topic and many other things which come to mind when methodology comes. Open science questions, they show to be very important for students, at least in those groups. And then social aspects. And under social aspects, I have, for example, cultural diversity, professional conduct, gender equality, quality of life, and so on and so forth. So that was what students said that they are interested in. So we started the presentations with the summary of what we agree upon are important questions. And then I added, because I'm also one of the class, we are trying to communicate on equal level. I told them what I am very much interested in, and that was ethics of AI, and specifically ethics in self-driving autonomous cars. So that was very good to see examples that Catherine had of trolley problem, because Tobias and I, my PhD student who is focusing on autonomous cars, we were arguing in several places that trolley problem is not relevant for autonomous cars, that it is a very good problem to study ethics. What does it mean to act, not to act, and so on, all these things that we have heard. But when it comes to autonomous cars, it is irrelevant. So, and we are arguing. If you want to see our arguments, you are very welcome, because on my webpage you will find full text of all those articles. And then gender issues in ICT, because I'm in those networks, and I'm also very much interested in those. So ethical issues move technology forward, and that's very, very important to understand and recognize, because many people would say, oh, this ethics, it is just slowing down the progress. It is just making things more complicated. No, on the contrary, ethics gives us technology that we will embrace, that will function, that will be what we want it to be. And if we produce whatever which is not good for stakeholders, for the humanity, that's not good technology. So simply, ethics is supporting good technology. And if you see what the CACM communications of ACM in August 2018 says, the table of content, ethics is high on the agenda. You can see how many topics are directly related to ethics, and those are professional people in computing. So it's Informatics Europe, it's traceability, it's responsibility, and so on and so forth. So a lot of questions discussed in professional groups, which are eminently ethical questions. But the topic is huge. And I teach Introduction to Ethics, just a very brief introduction to find this vocabulary, at least in small format, that we can agree upon, that we know what we are talking about. And of course, everything is about making sense, and in this case is facing grand challenges. We have natural challenges, as we have seen with global warming and all those things that we are becoming more and more aware about, and then unintended consequences of technology that are also things to take into account. Like global warming is partly unintended consequence of our technology. So we have this responsible research and innovation here in Europe, and the definition of what it means to research responsibly. And I wish I had more time to tell you all the details, but I just make you pointers to those things that I am talking about in the course. How we face grand challenges in this triple helix arrangement with academia, industry and businesses, and government, all of them informed of each other and affecting each other. And there is also the Science with and for Society work program. So we have to adapt to complexity and continuous change and understand that there is no simple recipe, and we must think ourselves. In complex systems, in complex circumstances, we have to think, and we have to educate our students to be autonomous agents who are able to think ethically themselves. So not only to read the rule and to follow the rule, but also to understand the situation. So that's for the future. So we are educating engineers for the future. That's very important to know. It's maybe not so important that they know by heart all the rules today, because rules are changing and world is changing. What is important is to build this right kind of sensibility and approach and understanding of the importance of ethics. So I will not talk about ethics, morality, difference, and such things, and the normative systems, how they interact and how they overlap and so on. That's also part of the course. And ethics as continuum that we have heard this morning as well, and what we can expect from ethics, and why do we use ethics, and which are the most used ethical theories. And I will come to this thought about different possibilities to see the same problem with different optics and to get different results, what it means. But what is important for future emerging technologies is that they come with policy vacuums. And as Jimmy Moore, who has written in Metaphilosophy already in 1985 about getting new technologies where we are faced with things that we never seen before. New, like this, talking to deceased person through the program. That's really something completely new. Or introducing robotic bees among the other bees. What does it mean? We have never had such things. And there is policy vacuum. So we have to address those vacuums and understand. So we focus both on what the phenomenon, for example, the robotic insects or whatever, or we focus on good. What does it mean to have it done in a good way? And the values and ethics are central in knowledge production. Many people don't understand that, but it is absolutely central that there is ethical epistemic combination or interaction. And values serve as a guide to action and knowledge. And this is the circle where you start with the values, or let's say we start with data. We can get data from somewhere, and then we apply our values, because we cannot take all the data in the whole world. We must choose among important and unimportant data and so on. And we build information. And in that step, we also apply values and we build knowledge. And again, about among different pieces of knowledge, we apply value system in order to choose what we find relevant, important, good, and so on. And then we build science, and science helps us create new data, and so on. So we go in the circle, but in each step we use our judgment, we use our values. So values serve as a guide to action and knowledge. That's very, very important. And cognitive scientists have found values to be integral parts of STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And the types of values, so ethical, aesthetic, epistemic, economic, and so on. And the examples of values: reliability, honesty, respect, accountability, and so on and so forth. We have been talking about risks this morning, and especially we have been studying those risks in autonomous cars, what it means for autonomous cars. and we make choices, and there are requirements regarding research and innovation. And this is a book that I recommend to my students by Sarah Spiekerman, Ethical IT Innovation, where those topics are very nicely addressed. And now back to the question that we have different ethical theories, different approaches, which will give us different pictures. And being a physicist from the beginning, I'm thinking about analysis of an object in different light. So you can take gamma rays, you can take X-rays, ultraviolet, infrared. In all of these pictures, you will get different details of the same thing. So if you look at the sun in those different lights, you will get different pictures. And all of them make sense in their own context. So they are not meaningless just because they are different. We just must be able to understand and remember how did we get there and what are the assumptions and where we are in those levels of abstraction when we attack the problem with some sort of framework, be it ethical theory or some other framework. And one more important thing that I'm working very much with is the role of stakeholders. So we are never alone. We are surrounded by different stakeholders. In academic project, we have academia, PhD student, research group, advisors, and so on, and all those other organizations that we communicate with. And in engineering context, similar things. So it is a lot about negotiation with other people through networks where we interact. One important thing is when we think about necessity to get information, right information in order to get right decision, we must always take into account uncertainties. That was what Catherine mentioned many times, and also our cognitive biases. So that's known from cognitive science. No one is objective as an individual. And this is just the map of many biases that all of us have. And talking about information and necessity to understand all the information that is about the project. That's why I'm always talking about knowing technology, why technology is so important. We must first see the technology in adequate way in order to understand ethics of technology. And one approach is this informational ethics of Luciano Floridi, who made the models explaining what does it mean to get this information from the world and how to act as an agent, ethical agent. And what we are developing in our courses is ethical sensitivity, so that we really recognize the ethical problem when we see it. Now, this is about mode 1 and mode 2 research. It's academic and industrial research. I will jump over that. And this one is just about ethics in research, putting it into its context. So how this scientific community, subjects, society interact, how they relate, how big domains they are, which questions are asked. And also very important to understand is how those domains relate to each other. For example, we have an individual as a microsystem, but it is surrounded by a little bit bigger system than the mesosystem, exosystem, macrosystem, which is whole society and so on. So in all those analysis, if you take the analysis from the point of view of individual, that will give you one thing. If you take the analysis from the point of view of society, it will give you another one. So how do we combine all those the domains and all those understandings of problem from different optics, from different perspectives is very important. It gives us more understanding if we take several views, because we are handling complex systems. I will not talk about all these interesting and good documents that address different aspects of ethics, like future intelligent autonomous systems and so on. I'm sure you have seen those. And I will just show you briefly the ethics course from Mellard Allen University, which was divided into lectures, and students were giving also their own presentations. So each student had been presenting some chosen topic. They would choose the topic of their own and present in front of class. So for examination, they had notes, class notes from each class. They would write half a page, just the most important things from the lecture. Then it was a short presentation, maybe half an hour presentation on the chosen topic. And then we had a mini conference in the end of the course, where the students presented their papers. So they were writing papers and they were sending papers for publication. And they presented in this conference, and it was the grand finale of the course. It was always very popular among the students. And I had the similar course at Chalmers, which was also combined with sustainable development. And we had, of course, learning outcomes and assessment of the outcomes. And this shows the course overview. So we started with problems and principles and science in society and peer review. So they were reviewing each other's papers, and they were also writing the papers in this course. And we had group meetings, and in the end, again, we had mini conference. They had also writing class notes, and this was very productive.
Gordana, if I may, because I think time is running, can I just conclude in a few words, and we will have questions later at the end of the panel.
Okay, those are my colleagues from the course, just to show them. And I will end with this PS that I was thinking yesterday evening. My idealized picture of the roles of the teacher and students in a research-based ethics course. They can be compared to the work of Renaissance art studio. It is defined beyond compliance, definitely. The action of complying with a wish or command. That's not in any way, the students were not supposed to follow the command or the wish of the teacher, but to actively and creatively address the topic. So this is the picture of Leonardo da Vinci in Florence, in the art studio of Andrea Verrocchio, and they were really painting together with the master, and they were selling their pictures together with the master. They were part of the workshop. So that's my ideal picture of how ethics could be done in a classroom. Thank you so much.